Chelsea 0, Crystal Palace 0 at Stamford Bridge, and maybe a little bit of a shock result for many people. I certainly thought Chelsea would be a better team today. Creative issues throughout, only 0.03 expected assists from Palmer and from Enzo Fernandez today, centrally in the team. Not much better from the wingers, around 0.2. In fact, Esteval, who was only on the pitch for around about 30 minutes, created more goal-scoring opportunities. His balls were dangerous. His balls went into more dangerous positions. But overall, a game where, look, Chelsea showed promise. The structure's there. The possession is there. You can see it on the screen right now. In fact, I'll freeze the stats as you can see them. 71% of the ball, 19 shots. They created the most XG in the game, most passes. They really made Palace work hard. Palace actually covered in the end 7 kilometers more in that game. That was how much Chelsea were pushing them around. It was just that lack of creativity. It was just that final ball that was lacking from the Stamford Bridge West London outfit today. And that will be frustrating because I think the likes of Pedro and the likes of Delap, their player ratings will get shown everywhere now and be trolled out. But I think they were a little bit, they were starving today. They were starving because what Chelsea were not able to do was to break down what was a solid back five when they were out of possession, and or essentially a midfield four. Solid banks of players, very little room in between. Maybe Chelsea put the ball down the centre a little bit too much, but I don't necessarily think it's the end of the world for Chelsea. Just my thoughts, just my humble opinions on that. Why is it not the end of the world for Chelsea? Well, I'll tell you why it's not the end of the world, because the structure's there, the shape is there, the quality of player is there. You've also got to understand they played a very good Crystal Palace team today. Well organised, well drilled, one of the most difficult teams in the Premier League to beat. And if you look from around November 2024 until this point, they barely lose games. They never get battered. They are difficult to break down. They beat one of the best teams in English football history in an FA Cup final. They just beat Liverpool, the current champions, in the Conference League final. And look, they're fighting off vultures that are chasing their players. But this Crystal Palace team is very good. And maybe myself, maybe in the build-up to this, I maybe underestimated Crystal Palace a little bit. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think Chelsea should be angry. I don't think Chelsea should be fuming. I don't think Chelsea fans should be losing their minds. But I would say some criticism is absolutely needed. And why would you not criticize certain things? And I definitely look at Enzo. I definitely look at Palmer and say, what more could they have done? Could different substitutions have been made? Could a slight change of shape? Could something have been done to get the better out of them? I also thought that Gittins today, a player that I think's got a lot of potential. I thought we had a very poor Premier League debut. It was almost caught between two places, I felt, Gittins. There was this element of, are you going to have a go at your fullback? In pre-season, when I see him pick up the ball for Chelsea, the way he was sprinting at fullbacks, just looked at it and thought, that's a problem. The way he'd get the ball and just run. Today, it was a little bit more Jadon Sancho-esque, where he was second-guessing, he was cutting back, he was just rotating the ball around. And I know that moving the ball from side to side is important, but you've got to try and break a line. You've got to try and drag someone out of a position and be a little braver, I think, in that scenario. The positive is when Esteval came on. He came on within seconds. He made an impact, almost created a goal-scoring opportunity. From that attack, a free kick was generated, and we'll get on to free kicks in a minute because I've got a lot to say about that today. But you saw an instant impact from him. Why? You could argue he's more talented. You could say he's a better footballer. It's very simple. Occam's razor, Terry. It's just because he's a better footballer. I have a theory, though. I just believe Esteval, because of his age, has not allowed the occasion, my first Premier League appearance. Probably more eyes watching him today than any other football match he's played in, barring when he's played for his nation. Brazil obviously is a massive country, a lot of viewers, but we know how much the Premier League is watched as a league. Didn't care. Just came on. It was like he was in the park, on the beach, playing with his family in the back garden, and expressed himself. And I wanted to see more of that from Gittins today. I really, really did, because Chelsea was very cramped in the middle, which is why Chelsea frustrated me so much. Of their play for large parts went through the middle when there was room on the wings. And when it did get out there, it was only really Esteval that run at their man. Pedro Neto did his thing, some decent crosses into the ball. But I felt really sorry for João Pedro. I felt really sorry for Delap when they came on, because they were feeding off scraps again and again and again and again. And where I want to credit Palace is, I tweeted something with 20 minutes to go. And this is crazy numbers. And by the way, if you want to know where I'm getting all these numbers from, I'm partnering for a while with FootMob. I didn't realize how good their app is, because you can watch something and have an opinion, but can you get the information? This app, and I'll show it to you now, this is on the Chelsea Palace page. The app here has everything on it. It has instant live, expected goals, shots, everything on target, what you can see on my screen right now. But one of the best things they've added this season is the physical performance, which is what you can see on my screen. Hopefully it will zoom in there. And this shows you distance covered. It shows you, and for the first time, remember when Pogba got slagged off for walking? Turns out midfielders walking for 25 to 30% of the game's normal, because they're all doing it. Who knew? But it shows walking stats, running stats, how many of the kilometers of your distance covered was sprinting, not running, but sprinting, how many sprints your team did. And it shows you all types of stats, right down to individuals who cover the most distance, expected XG, chances created, total shots in the game. It's absolutely amazing. So you can scan the QR code on the screen, or click on, scan that QR code, or click the link that's in our live chat. What they're also giving away on the app, if you go onto the page here and click on more down here, and then go to settings, scroll down and click redeem, it'll ask you for a code. If you put in PL25, you'll go into the draw to win 10 copies of the new FIFA game that is coming out, plus 5 Premier League shirts of your choice. So if you're someone who collects shirts, you can do it. You just pick 5 of your football clubs if you want, but we're giving that away right now. You've got to use my code though, PL25. You can do that on FootMob, so get it downloaded. Great for stats, great for keeping up to date with games, great for checking. What I look at for is I'm testing the eye test, is what I'm seeing really happening. So I use FootMob for that now, but use that promo code PL25, all in our description below. You can win the brand new FIFA game, or the new FC game it's called now. And I've got to get used to that, FC 26, plus 5 Premier League shirts of your choice. So scan the QR code or click on that link. But what I saw in that was just Chelsea were really making Palace work hard. And what I thought was going to happen, my personal thought, was that eventually Palace would tire. And when I tweeted that, they'd run about 5K more in the game. By the end of the match, they'd covered almost 7K more ground on that pitch. They ran more, they covered more. They didn't do as many sprints, but they covered so much more ground. And I just felt that they were going to tire. And I've got to give a lot of credit to Crystal Palace. They stayed resolute. They remained dogged. They didn't allow the fatigue to make their minds go. And they were getting a little bit shaky at the end. Some of those balls into the box. There was a header down that the lap nearly gets onto. There was a great chance for Santos. Probably should have taken a touch. So the spaces were there. Chelsea just didn't quite keep their composure in those important moments. The opportunities were there, but well done to Crystal Palace for hanging on. But look, it's the opening day of the season. And as much as I said yesterday, I don't think people should run away with crazy narratives if they win. I also don't think if you draw or lose points that you should be going crazy, because on a performance level, there were many, many things that I feel Chelsea should be encouraged about personally. I didn't think it was dog awful, horrendous. That being said, I'm not a Chelsea fan. So you may look at this very differently. You may look at this and think, actually, Terry, no, I can't have this. It was absolutely nowhere near the standard, and I've got to call it out. It's your club. It's your club. Say what you feel is right. That's why the Football Terrace exists, for these such things. So you get to give your opinions. But overall, decent performance from Palace, more improvement needed, and a creative level for Chelsea. Now, that all being said, and that all had to be discussed, I need to speak about VAR. Now, I want to start by saying this is not Chelsea's fault. So Chelsea fans, I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I'm not blaming Chelsea. Chelsea didn't pay anybody. There's no brand envelopes. Chelsea will also be a victim of this at some point. But that free kick being disallowed, I don't want to hear rules are rules. Do you know why I don't want to hear rules are rules? Because VAR exposed themselves. The PGMOL exposed themselves twice today. Did you see the line they drew when Palace had another free kick to make sure Cucurella didn't get in the way? Oh no, sorry. When Chelsea had a free kick, they sprayed a 1 meter line so that Cucurella couldn't go over it. Yes, Terry, they were following the rules. Why didn't they spray that for Palace's? Why didn't they spray it for Palace's if that rule has been briefed to the clubs? It's been in. By the way, that rule was introduced in 2019. I spent 3 or 4 minutes on YouTube finding free kicks from last season where the rules were being broken and nothing was done. So you could argue and say, Terry, it's a new protocol. Not a single Chelsea player appealed, and no one on the Palace bench even understood why it had been done. Everybody on commentary was saying it must have been for the shoulder barge. Why? Because no one, the TV companies, Chelsea Football Club, Crystal Palace Football Club, any football club, any fan, nobody was briefed, because for some weird reason, they've decided today, for the first time in 6 years, to implement the rule. And then to save face, they sprayed the line down so Cucurella couldn't go across it. Absolutely horrendous. People will hide behind the technicality, but it's a rule, Terry. My question is, why wasn't it implemented last season? I bet if you go back 6 years, and by the way, the Premier League uploads every year all the free kicks scored. Just go there and watch it and screenshot every single one where a player is encroaching on that wall and ask, why haven't they implemented it? I don't want to hear the clubs were briefed early in the summer, because if they were, they wouldn't have been asking, what the hell are you talking about? We've never heard of that. It isn't Chelsea's fault. Chelsea don't deserve to be ridiculed or called cheats or any names for this. That is a low IQ jab. Not doing it. You can, your life, I'm not. I am calling out the PGMOL because that was an absolute 100% abomination to the game. Because you also know as much as I do, and I'm going to look at the Chelsea fans' faces backstage when I say this, you boys know that rule ain't being implemented for more than 2 or 3 weeks. You know within 2 or 3 weeks, they're letting it go. So it's not about Chelsea. This is about the PGMOL. And look, Chelsea got a lucky one there. They got a lucky one because no one would have asked for that to be chalked off. They just so happened to do it. Look, you could argue if Gahey didn't push in, there wouldn't have been the gap for the ball to go through. But my argument is I've seen people stand next to the walls for the last 6 years and not be penalised. And I wonder how many teams now are going to look back at those, look back at free kicks and say, well, we wouldn't have conceded it if a player didn't do this or if a player didn't do that, or the goalie would have been able to see better. Because you look at the one there with Everton, right? If you look at it, Maguire's just ducked down. But that's just after the ball's been struck. He's standing right in the way of the goalkeeper and the wall, right? Imagine he isn't there. That's my team, by the way, I'm calling out. It's my team. So, I'm calling that a goal for my team. Not actually, my team did. My team, Man United, like every other club, didn't know it was a fucking rule. No one did. Not one football fan was like, I know what that was about. We all just sat there and went, what? But yeah, a disgrace from the PGMOL. Opening weekend, and there's already been 2 in the games I've watched. Horrendous decisions. The handball that should have seen Bournemouth go down to 10 men, and that today. And yes, it's by the letter of the law, but where has it been for the last 6 years? Absolutely disgraceful in every single which way. Going to bring the panel out in a minute. This just a few super chats here. Actually, quite a few super chats here. You generous people. I want to get onto these because I don't want to overskip them. But this here says, but they have to keep fighting. Yeah, Chelsea have to keep fighting. I think Chelsea will keep fighting. I wouldn't look at today and say that there's any signs that Chelsea are not going to keep fighting. I think they will do that this season. There's a few early ones that didn't come through to be put up on the screen, but this is from Carmelo, who says best midfield, my ass, Xhaka over Palmer is what he's got to say here. Let me just timestamp these as well for the people that want to hear their stuff be read out, and I'm going to bring the panel on. Hinder says people are acting like Palace aren't 9 unbeaten, doing Liverpool and City in 2 finals in their last 2 games. No, I agree. I agree. I probably overlooked them a little bit too much when I predicted a Chelsea win, if I'm being absolutely honest with you. Nav says the issue is that's going to catch up with us in the energy and tiredness. I wouldn't worry about that too much right now, my friend. Ronin says, didn't they just put 2 past Liverpool? I'll take the clean sheet. Last year, we would have lost this match, what Ronan says here. Palace were good, but we were a bit slow to move the ball, played into their strategy. Very good point there, Gav. Grey Wolf Dinner says, I've told Chelsea fans to temper their expectations. The lack of proper preseason is going to affect this team. We almost nicked it, though, is what Grey Wolf Dinner said. Shame did just about enough to win the game. Esteval and Santos need to get rid of the nerves quickly. There will be more games like this in the Prem. We didn't help ourselves, though, as it was a pretty poor performance, is what Nav says here. D-Art says, Palmer, you have help now. These little Uzi Verts performances ain't going to cut it. Enzo, James, bad. And I think our pitch is too small for this style of play. This year from Tim, he says, would love Don to explain why the best midfield in the world couldn't create anything and why his team didn't just play through the middle instead of spamming crosses. The exact same thing he criticizes Arsenal for, or others for. Terry, these so-called rules will change every week. It's just a cool drama between fans that want. You know, I do. I wouldn't say that's the wrong theory. They do try and create drama amongst the fans, which is why I prefaced that this isn't about Chelsea. Zane here says, too many fans before the season started overhyped Chelsea. Yes, it's just 1 game, but we're doing well in cup competitions. It's totally different from doing well in the league. They aren't at City, Liverpool, or Arsenal's level yet. Here from Pratt, he says, PGMOL has become that annoying lawyer who keeps finding loophole laws to justify robbery. If they just start using this rule, heads up was needed. I agree. And Munoz and Mateta were booked in the first half. Both committed yellow card offences in the second half, especially Mateta. I think you can make the argument, but well, look, Reece James got away with one today as well. So Reece James was walking a tightrope as well. I didn't think anybody deserved to be sent off today personally, but that's just me. You may disagree. Look, time to bring the panel on now to have their say. We don't have too long left because there's a game kicking off soon. And of course, I personally do want to get to it. It's important. It's important. And I'm not going to miss it. Let me move the scoreboard. Let me just move myself over to here. And let me bring out Kojo, Kwess, Andrew, and Lou onto the show. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're all well. Kojo, a real lack of creativity today. Did you see that, or am I misreading this?
No, you're not misreading it, Terry. Listen, and you know what? I'm going to be that broken record. I said it earlier about Chelsea. The thing that we've always suffered for the last at least 2 seasons is slow play. The first 5 minutes was quick. It was zipping. The ball was moving around quick. The team suffered because I'm going to put on Maresca. I'm not saying he has to get sacked for this or anything. It's something to changed, right? If you're going to have all that ball possession at the back and you don't have a ball playing defender, what are you doing? That means you're hogging the ball. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So you got someone like Acheampong who can drive, change up the system, and allow Caicedo just to drop in and allow Acheampong to make the drive because no one's playing a ball splitting pass anymore. So when you haven't got that player, I don't want to hear complaints about getting another defender in. No, you've got enough defenders, bro. Use a different style of football, or ask Reece James to take on more responsibility and punch that ball in. And actually, because the ball was always in defense and could not get into the midfield, we suffered with creativity until we got to the 85th minute. And even then, on the 85th minute, we were struggling because we're playing the same football we were playing last season and the seasons before, which is side to side. When you've got inverted wingers like Neto playing on the right wing or Esteval, why are you not using Pedro and Delap who can header a ball? They're cutting in and they're not going to cross the ball with the right foot. Fine, get back on your left foot and you cut it in and cross the ball in and give that opportunity to these defenders to get ahead on it. We don't do that. So what ends up happening is a very one-style football that Chelsea play. Is very easy to read, and we were lucky to get 2 or 3 chances towards the end because they were tired. But other than that, we suffered a lot because we're playing that same boring, lobotomous football where we hog possession, and you ain't Man City. I need Maresca to get that in his head. We're not Man City. So when you're hogging the football at the back and you haven't got people finishing stuff, this is what we get. So it's nothing to be like mad about. It's just something that you have to point out and be honest about and stop pretending as if it's okay. It's not. It's been going on for the last few seasons.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. Andrew, is it a Winter Surfer, Andrew? Do you echo that? Is it about the play being too slow today? Is that what stopped the Palmers and the Enzos from being able to open up Crystal Palace? The ball was being moved too slowly.
Yeah, that's part of it, but it's not just at the back. It's all over the pitch. It's too slow all over the pitch. Palmer's passing was poor before Gittins went off. His 2 passes of Gittins were overhit. Everything was just poor. Poor choices, too slow, too many touches. And I don't know why we kept continuing to play through the middle in the first half. That wasn't working. So that's Palace's strength. We then switched to the wings in the second half, which is a bit better. But it was still too slow. There was no urgency until injury time for me. And then we got the half chances. I mean, Santos really should have buried that. And we're talking about escaping with a 1-0 win, really. But yeah, you can't do that. The problem is people are going to go, oh yeah, well you guys against low blocks again, but we never gave ourselves a chance to see what we could do because it was too slow. So I don't think we have a problem with low blocks. It's too slow. You allow a team like Palace to then settle in because you don't hit them on the counter attack fast enough. And Sanchez, with his distributions, there was awful, just awful, just aimlessly kicking the ball away. Was just terrible. Yeah. Honestly, it's just the whole performance was lethargic. It was just like, yeah, it was just not good all over the pitch. And obviously that is a thing from Maresca, obviously playing the ball like from the back, but you've got to switch it up. And usually he's been quite good at that at the start of last season, at the end of last season. But today it was just not good enough. But then, do you know what? I expect some of these players then to take the ball by the horns. Do you know what I mean? I expect some of these players to then go, okay, it's not working. We had Palmer come out at the end after the Betis final, go, I was tired of doing this, I was tired of doing that. Well, do something then. He was awful today, just like most of the attack. Absolutely awful today. And we as a fan base aren't afraid to really call that out. But it's just not. It wasn't good enough. It needs to improve. Obviously, it should improve, but you cannot give. And let's be fair. Palace are a very good side as well. This is not like playing Brentford or one of the promoted sides. They're a very good side, and they'll do the same to a lot of teams this season. But we never unsettled them. They just settled in. It was just like they got their cement and they were settled very quickly. Do you know what I mean? We just couldn't. We just too many touches. I mean, how many times probably? And also, Terry, on a side note, the atmosphere of that home disgraced the atmosphere of the home stadium. It's like a morgue. It really is. And I know people that go, "Oh well, the team really didn't do much to get the fans up." Well, the fans have got to give it back as well, Terry. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a library. I could hear a pin drop. I swear, I heard people's phones go off in the crowd. Messages. I swear, I heard. That's how rubbish the atmosphere was.
I hear that. I'm going to go to Lou. Lou's obviously a Man United fan, so you're a rival. How did you see Chelsea's performance today? Do you agree with what the boys have said? Too slow, individuals not performing. What was your assessment of it?
Yeah, I agree basically for the most part with what the lads have said there. Like, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would have been disappointed with that today. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we go out and we perform like that today and haven't seen the team, I'm not overly confident. I would be so disappointed with that. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll get to that later on. But like that, when we did our predictions for the Premier League, I actually put Chelsea to win, which was controversial in the group chat in the first place. And after today, they haven't overawed me completely. Now look, the same with every other match reaction we've done this far. We do have to remember, look, it is game week 1. It is the first game of the season. But you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And that was Chelsea's first impression this season. And it absolutely just wasn't good. You do have to remember, Crystal Palace are a very, very good team. It was never going to be a walkover. But I did see a lot of people, in the chats, on the shows, talking about, essentially this was a kind of a tick box that was a Chelsea win. And I think, if fans are looking at it like that, did the players go in with that sort of mentality? Did they go in with like, oh, well, we just have to turn up and we're going to win because it's only Crystal Palace? So again, I think part of, not necessarily that they didn't have a pre-season, but it was almost like Chelsea treated this game as a pre-season game. Like they weren't ready to go. Like Chelsea came out, like they come out of the gates fast. Or sorry, Crystal Palace come out of the gates fast. So Chelsea just felt like they were still in the summer. Like they like nobody told them the season started. Do you know what I mean? Now look, there was nothing good in the whole match at all. But if that's your starting block, you've got to go much higher now. Do you know what I mean? If you're starting from a lower point, you have a much further way to go then to reach where they want to be. And for me, they've spent so many years like building this team, like refining it, like getting players in, getting rid of the ones that don't work, get the next player in, like tweaking it, getting it right. At some point, you're going to have to expect them to be in title contention. Otherwise, what is the point of this? And today, it just looked disjointed. It didn't look like this was a team that had been being worked on for years. You know, I like that. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be really disappointed.
I hear you. I just want to let you know that you got a bit of an issue with your mic coming through. It was kind of cutting in and out a little bit, but I didn't want to stop the flow just because of time. Kwess, what did you make of today? Because there aren't too many things to really hang your hat on, other than the fact you dominated the ball and everything else. What was your review of today's game? Good, bad, and indifferent.
Good. I thought there was glimpses from Esteval, of course, coming on. I thought Acheampong was phenomenal. I'm sorry, Mateta is one of the best strikers in the league, whether you like it or not. And he actually dealt with him all game. And, being in the back four with Chalobah and Sanchez is sometimes not always like super like confidence inducing. Maybe less so for Chalobah because he's actually been solid. So I thought he'd done really well. Obviously disappointing Enzo Fernandez hit today. He's got to take a long, hard look at himself, because if you're going to be vice captain, we need you to show up when it's toughest. Palmer was missing today, and that is sad. But I also think, you know what, it's interesting. He's got such a high ceiling and set such a big platform that if he doesn't have more than a 6 out of 10, people are going to be on his neck. And duly so, because today was a little bit frustrating. I think I'm just disappointed. I'm a little bit disappointed in Chelsea fans. I'm going to say that, because I feel like there has to be nuance, but I understand the footballing space is not one for nuance. It's one for emotions, and people are very emotional right now. For me, what I understand is since Oliver Glasner came in, 19th of Feb 2024, Maresca's not beat him. So contextually, this is not even a game we should have been expecting the most out of. We definitely were expecting a win because we thought we'd, set ourselves up better throughout preseason and coming in. But when you've drawn 1-1 home and away last season, when you're coming in without your ball playing centre back, who Maresca confidently said in a press conference, Fofana and Tosin is the next best day, but Fofana, Tosin, Badiashile cannot do what Levi Colwill does, then you have to understand we were already at a disadvantage. I am still disappointed because I agree, like I said, that's when you need your best players to step up. Palmer was missing. Gittins is going to have to very, very quickly understand which league he's in, because right now he just plays like he's 14 years old, and that's crazy. But I also understand this is probably the issues you run into when you've had someone like Madueke play with the team for the last 2 years, and you switch to somebody who's coming from a completely new league who doesn't understand what it requires to be a force on that left side. So, yeah, all in all, I'm not going to lie. The result could have been worse. I'm sure it will show on FootMob. Yeah, 1.81 XG. Okay, 19 shots to Palace's 12, and we had 3 on target. We should have scored today. And I know much of last season, Maresca said the same thing. It comes down to being clinical. We weren't clinical. We didn't create enough chances. And like Pep says, I can only coach them to get to the edge of the box. And I do think Maresca made some personnel decisions that were wrong today. I think João Pedro was probably the wrong choice going into this game. Just looking at how aggressive the centre-backs were, it should have probably been Delap from the off, but I understand why. He's got to get his game time. But I will say that the players were just not up to it today. And for me, I'm a little bit okay with that, knowing that this is game week 1, but it does have to be better. But this is Chelsea, and everybody wants Chelsea to lose. So if as a Chelsea fan, you're now turning around and going, it's all over, I'll see you at the end of the season, but I don't rock with that kind of energy, man. I think it's bad.
I hear you. Andrew Barnes, this super chat here says, we really miss Levi in defense today for his ball playing. The other 3 were not able to punch through the middle, which hurt us. Key not to lose. That was obviously mentioned as well by Kwess. Is that something that was missing for you today, Andrew?
For sure, Terry. For sure that we missed him. Maresca said it in his press conference. But I want to say that Acheampong really filled that space. in the way that he like held his own in that defense. Okay, he made that one mistake which cost us that free kick, which was again disallowed, and all of that drama happened. But other than that, when he was tackling, I remember one time he tackled, I forgot who he tackled, but he got up immediately and got the ball, and then Mateta took him out. Like his pace, his reaction, it's amazing to see this young guy at 19 years old start. But yeah, so everybody already spoke about all the things that were not so good about this game. I want to talk about the positives and the things that I saw that were good. Estevao, as soon as he came on, he changed the atmosphere. There was people like Andrew mentioned it, like my girlfriend was watching the game with me for the first time ever, and she asked me, is it normal that the stadium is quiet like that? And then I had to explain to her that it's a London team and it's the posh London team, and that's why these guys are not as loud as you would hear.
Although, to be honest with you, most Chelsea fans are actually quite working class. To be fair, like they're most like
for sure.
I mean, if you just search what some of the old Chelsea heads used to get up to and the political beliefs they've got, they're not posh, I tell you.
I had to give us some sort of reason to be like, okay, my crowd or the team is not as bad. Like I had to justify that. But like it was crazy. But as soon as Estevao came, and I think Kojo mentioned this in the group chat, it's not about his pace, it's about his tenacity. You can see the guy. At one point in time, there were 3 defenders on him, and he was still running with the ball, and he made the pass.
No,
I love how.
Sorry, go on. Finish your sentence. Sorry.
Yeah, so I just love how this guy has come, and I think you said it in your pre-log. You said that he's not let this pressure get to him. He's not like he's come here to play. He's come here, and it's going to be difficult for this manager to keep him out of this starting 11. It is going to become difficult, and he'll have to figure. So Gideon has to be like sharp.
But he had the tenacity about him though to try and score and to try and move the ball quickly and to try and break a line, which I think was good. DR here says, I still think we can win trophies this season. Listen, Chelsea's season is not written off because of today. That'd be crazy. Foolish Snippets here says, Don said a few more gaps when filled, and we will play like PSG. All I saw was players sticking a leg out when Crystal Palace had the ball. Sanchez playing long balls. Pedro collecting the ball 4 meters sideline. That isn't how you move the ball quickly. No, I agree with you on that. Also, the VAR decision did stop me giving Don a bit of banter about it, because Donnarumma would have stopped that free kick, in my opinion. So I just like
for sure. That was a disgrace.
Yeah, shot stopping is a very important part of football. It really, really is.
A goalkeeper's job. Like a goalkeeper first should be a shot stopper, then he can play with his feet, with his, I don't know, whatever else he wants to play with, but he has to stop the ball first.
Chelsea looked like they were playing a pre-season game and not the first game of the league.
Agreed.
They're tired, man. They're tired. I hear it.
Chelsea's squad. Sorry, I've got to get pretty super chat. We're like the end of sorry. Chelsea's huge squad of athletes and technical is why it's so slow. More permanent, a bit more expensive. Pertinent, a bit more expensive. Chelsea versus PSG needs to be the standard, though. Yeah, I hear you on that, and I think Chelsea have got time to get. I think Chelsea have got time to get to that level. Also, Crystal Palace don't play like PSG. So there isn't the space behind to run into, and you have to factor that in as well. Boys, I want to say thank you all for coming on. I know everybody, including me, wants to go and watch Arsenal Man United. Now, we are live after that game, so make sure you're back with us. This is going to redirect you to Dom Hussam's channel, so go check it out now, people, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. Peace.